Now I want to talk about information, specifically centralized information, mass communication. We're living in a civilization of it. Despite the fact that you can make yourself an epistemic bubble on the internet by only consulting certain sources, there's still a far greater pool of common information, commonly accepted information, than there ever was in the past. And you can kind of see it, in my view, when you sort of read some of the old stories, parables, myths, legend, or so-called histories, because they're not really accurate. Well, they're not accurate, that's not the point, but they're not intended to be accurate. They're far more for a point, to present something to an audience, to suggest a mood, to give a lesson. So the sort of idea that there's a strict truth that we're attempting to get seems to be, again, this is a bit speculative, seems to be a product of our centralized civilizations, as opposed to past ones where different groups had different truths, or your truths, your religious beliefs, your rituals, and all your cultural beliefs were all tied up in a certain sense. So yes, Bob had hit Eric and provoked him and was in the wrong, and had hit him with a blow, with a blow from a machete. And if you didn't wash your left hand 3 times at the beginning of the day, you were unclean. And these two were both truths. So the culture down the way might find it true that if you didn't wash your feet before going into battle, you were unclean, and that Eric had started by hitting Bob with a big rock. And maybe even within as I say, there didn't seem to be the desire for accuracy or the value for truth per se, or for objective truth in the same way. And even if there was, it was very hard to establish it. Because you can look at nowadays at, say, police procedures. Now, eyewitness testimony is terrible. Even though we seem to believe it has strong validity, it's actually pretty terrible, as more objective things like DNA testing and forensic are starting to prove. You misremember things, you get suggested by the questions that are asked to you, and then you misremember it and you become more and more certain of the wrong thing, and that happens all the time. But that's all that you really had in more primitive societies. You had what someone had seen, the story that they had, and the story that you heard as it percolated there, and then the myth that came out of it that was your local binding myth for your tribe. So and there's definitely nothing like a Wikipedia or even contrary arguments that you can look out. You probably would spend most of your life never encountering a counter-argument to something that you believed, which is a rather extraordinary position to be in from our perspectives. So how can we bring this out or use it? Well, you could start by showing the negative, have players' reputation completely destroyed by a rumor they're incapable of combating, that spreads around. Maybe it's such a good story, it just goes around and they cannot do it there. They can't get anyone to believe this is wrong. I mean, everyone believes this because everyone's heard it. The rumor goes around, it becomes a story. They're practically, maybe their only choice is to get very far from whatever happened, or to pretend it was someone else, because that might help them. If the rumor gets out of hand, they may be able to disassociate themselves from what it was. And then you can use it maybe later. Maybe if they have to take down some local, remember the video about local politics, there's some local tough guy they need to take down. Maybe they can't just sort of rock up there with swords and, yay, follow us everyone, we'll chop him to pieces. But maybe you can spread rumors, clever ones, not, remember you're outsiders, you can't say, if you go in there and the people clump together against you, you being the characters there, and will never be able to get them to separate. But maybe you can come in and offer a present to the leader that you hate for services rendered, or spread thanks for various things that reflect very badly on them and their local culture, or present as your ally and then drunk at the pub blurt out by accident to the locals that what this is for, or what this guy or gal has been doing. Maybe even do it at a distance, start spreading it in other towns. Just imagine, go around every town in a circle, start the rumor there, so then the rumors will converge, and then they'll get confirmation. I heard it from town X over there. Yeah, but in town Y they're saying the same thing. Oh, it must be true then. Two sources. And yeah, so playing with rumors, playing with misinformation, fearing it. But in any case, even if you don't use it directly, do not hesitate to have your players hear something that is maybe the garbled version of their own adventures, almost unrecognizable, come back to them, and people insist that that is what happened because their friend Tom heard it from its cousin Leo, and they are trustworthy and would never lie. So just adding the potential for misinformation, or the potential that, say, if you kill a dragon, rush to the town and tell people before someone else does, or before another story gets out. So that's the kind of thing that could be useful, and also offers quite a lot of non-combat roleplay. In any case, thank you for listening.